Hey, and welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
We've got a really interesting set of sources today, articles, some reviews, our notes.
Yep.
And it's all focused on something absolutely vital, your blood circulation.
Specifically, we're digging into how diet and lifestyle choices can really impact that system.
And, by extension, your heart health, too.
Absolutely. Our mission really is to sift through all this material,
Yeah.
pull out the key takeaways, the must-know stuff, and maybe find some surprising insights for you.
We want you to leave feeling like you've got a good handle on it without, getting bogged down in jargon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And understanding circulation itself is so important. It's the body's, it's delivery network, isn't it?
Totally. Constantly moving oxygen, nutrients to every cell.
Right. And taking away the waste products, too, if that system slows down or gets blocked.
It really impacts your quality of life, no doubt.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the circulatory system. It's this huge, intricate network.
The heart's at the center, right? Pumping away.
Yep. Pumping blood out through the arteries. Those are like the main highways.
Okay.
Then they branch off into smaller roads, the arterioles,
Mm-hmm.
and then these tiny little side streets, the capillaries. That's where the real action happens.
The exchange. Nutrients, oxygen.
Exactly. And then the blood heads back through the venules and veins, the return rods, back to the heart.
And just like real roads, I guess, things can get jammed up.
That's a good analogy. When blood flow is restricted, or maybe the vessels themselves aren't working quite right, that's what we call poor circulation.
And the sources brought up things like PAA peripheral artery disease.
Right, where plaque narrows the arteries,
Yeah.
often in the legs or arms.
Yeah.
And also CVI, chronic venous insufficiency.
That's more about the veins, isn't it? Like the valves?
Exactly. The valves in the veins, especially in the legs, don't shut properly, so blood can kind of pool down there.
And that pooling, or just the reduced flow in general, can cause problems. The sources listed quite a few symptoms.
Oh yeah, a whole range. Things like pain or weakness in your muscles. That real heavy, tired feeling, especially in the legs.
Or that pins and needles sensation. I think everyone's felt that at some point.
Right, that tingling. You might also see skin color changes.
Like pale or bluish.
Yeah, or even sometimes a kind of unusual redness. Swelling is a big one too, particularly lower legs, feet, ankles.
Okay. And numbness, fatigue.
Numbness, fatigue that just doesn't seem to go away with rest. Even trouble concentrating or memory problems in some cases.
Wow. And then more serious things like leg ulcers or varicose veins can show up too.
Yeah, those can happen when it's more advanced. They're all potential signs that things aren't flowing quite as they should.
Okay, so how do diet and lifestyle actually help? We need to get into the biology a bit, right?
We do, and the sources really zoom in on a couple of key players. First up is a molecule called nitric oxide, NO.
NO. Like NO. Is that good or bad?
Definitely good.
Yeah.
Very good in this context. It's a signaling molecule your body makes naturally.
Okay.
And its main job is basically telling your blood vessels to relax and widen.
Ah, vasodilation.
Exactly. When the vessels dilate, blood flows more easily and it lowers the pressure on the artery walls.
So like making the pipes wider so more blood can get through smoothly.
Perfect analogy. Widening those lanes on the highway.
Yeah.
And here's the dietary link. While our body makes NO, we can also get compounds from food, specifically inorganic nitrates, that our body converts into NO.
Interesting. So we can sort of pop up the supply through what we eat?
Pretty much. It gives us an external source.
Okay, so that's NO. What about antioxidants? They come up all the time.
They do, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Antioxidants, things like polyphenols, flavanols, capsaicinoids, found in lots of foods.
Yeah.
They're like the body's little cleanup crew. The sources explain their main role is fighting off free radicals.
Free radicals.
Yeah.
They cause oxidative stress, right? Which sounds bad.
It is bad for your cells anyway. Free radicals are these unstable molecules, and they can damage cells and tissues everywhere through oxidative stress. And that damage, it's linked to a higher risk of all sorts of chronic diseases, definitely including heart disease.
So antioxidants jump in and neutralize them.
Exactly. They step in, neutralize the free radicals, and protect your cells. That includes the cells lining your blood vessels. The sources specifically mentioned they can help protect against things like arteries getting stiff and also against LDL cholesterol, the bad kind getting oxidized.
And then oxidation is a bad step, right, for plaque?
It's a key early step in plaque starting to form inside your arteries. So antioxidants help stop that process early on.
Got it. So NO helps things flow, antioxidants protect the pipes. Makes sense.
Basically.
So let's connect this to the food.
Yeah.
Based on these sources, what should we be putting on our plates to support circulation?
Well, a great place to start, tying back to that NO production, is nitrate-rich vegetables.
Okay.
Think leafy greens, spinach, arugula, kale, cabbage, collards.
Usual suspects.
Pretty much. And also beets, or beetroot. These are highlighted as real powerhouses for dietary nitrate.
And the body turns that nitrate into the helpful NO.
Precisely. Eating these foods regularly helps promote that vessel relaxation. And it might even help with blood pressure, especially if your blood pressure tends to go up with salt.
Okay, leafy greens, beets. Check. Now, something maybe a bit more exciting that the sources mention quite a bit. Dark chocolate.
Yeah, yes, they did.
Yeah.
And it's actually got some decent research behind it, according to these reviews.
Really?
Yeah, dark chocolate, especially the kind with high cocoa content, isn't just tasty. It's packed with nutrients, fiber, iron, magnesium, copper,
Wow.
and those important antioxidant compounds, polyphenols and flavonols.
So it's more than just a guilty pleasure then. What did the sources say it actually does for circulation or heart health?
They point to a few potential benefits,
Sure.
helping lower that LDL, the bad cholesterol,
Okay.
and importantly, protecting that LDL from oxidizing so it doesn't become as harmful.
Right, stopping that first step of plaque buildup.
Exactly. And there's also some suggestion it might help raise HDL, the good cholesterol, possibly thanks to compounds like theobromine.
And I saw something about actual heart disease risk. Seems like a big claim for chocolate.
It does sound big.
Ah.
But the sources cited reviews suggesting a link. One found eating it just 3 times a week was associated with a, noticeable 9% lower cardiovascular risk.
3 times a week.
Another suggested around 45 grams a week, that's like a small bar, was linked to an 11% lower risk.
Huh.
Interestingly, though, they noted that going much higher, like over 100 grams a week, didn't seem to add more benefit in those studies.
So moderation is still key.
Definitely. And the sources do caution, this is correlation, more evidence is needed, but it's compelling stuff.
It is. So should we just grab any dark chocolate bar?
The general advice from the sources is to aim for 70% cocoa content or higher.
Okay.
That's where you get more of the good stuff and less of the sugar. And yeah, remember, it still has calories, maybe 300 in a 50-gram bar, and sugar, maybe 12 grams.
Right, moderation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could also get cocoa benefits from like unsweetened cocoa powder in hot drinks or smoothies, maybe without the extra sugar.
Good tip. Okay, beyond chocolate, what other foods were winners?
Berries and citrus fruits definitely stood out. Berries, blueberries, cranberries, raspberries, blackberries, all those.
Mm-hmm.
They're loaded with polyphenols, especially anthocyanins, potent antioxidants, anti-inflammatory.
stuff.
Yeah. And the sources suggested they might help with metabolic syndrome, which is linked to vessels narrowing.
And citrus, oranges, lemons.
Great source of vitamin C.
Mhm.
And the sources mentioned vitamin C seems to help your body use NO more effectively, enhances its bioavailability.
Oh.
And it might even boost the enzyme that helps make NO in the first place. Plus, links to better brain function and lower cardiovascular risk.
Pomegranate often gets mentioned too.
Yes, pomegranate has these really potent antioxidants that are thought to protect and sort of preserve the NO your body makes.
So it helps NO stick around longer.
That seems to be the idea, which could improve blood flow, get more oxygen to your muscles.
What about spices? Turmeric came up.
It did. Turmeric contained curcumin. Traditionally, it was used to help open blood vessels.
Interesting.
And modern studies cited in the sources do suggest it can increase blood flow.
Okay, let's shift to another kitchen staple that gets a lot of health buzz. Garlic. The sources seem pretty high on garlic.
They really were. Garlic seems to have this really impressive range of benefits for heart and circulation. One of the big ones is blood pressure.
How does it help with blood pressure? Does it just relax things?
Pretty much, yeah. It stimulates nitric oxide production just like those leafy greens.
Back to NO again.
Back to NO. It helps relax and widen the vessels. But what surprised me was the amount of effect shown in some studies.
Yeah.
One big review, a meta-analysis, found garlic supplements could lower systolic blood pressure, that's the top number, by about 4 to 8 points in people who already had high blood pressure.
Wow, 4 to 8 points. That's significant.
It is. It's in the ballpark of what some medications achieve, though, likely without the same side effects.
That's impressive for just garlic. Does it help cholesterol too?
It seems to have a more, let's say, modest effect there compared to blood pressure.
Okay.
The reviews suggest maybe around a 10% drop in total cholesterol for people with high levels,
Yeah.
and some reduction in LDL.
So helpful, but maybe not a magic bullet for cholesterol.
Right. Think of it as a good addition to your overall diet and lifestyle plan.
And inflammation, that's huge for heart disease.
Absolutely huge. And garlic has strong anti-inflammatory properties.
Yeah.
It can help calm down that systemic inflammation that damages artery walls and drives atherosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries.
So it's protecting the vessels that way too.
Exactly. So you've got blood pressure help, maybe some cholesterol help, and anti-inflammatory action. It's a powerful combination.
Anything else garlic does?
Well, the sources also mentioned it can improve circulation directly by boosting something called hydrogen sulfide,
Okay.
another compound that helps vessels dilate, and also by helping prevent platelets from sticking together.
Ah, so less risk of clots forming.
Right. Reducing the risk of clots and blockages. There was even a mention of it potentially helping balance blood sugar levels, which is super important for vessel health, especially if you have diabetes or prediabetes.
Okay, so if someone reads this and thinks, maybe I should try a garlic supplement, what should they look for?
The sources suggested looking for quality ones, like those with stabilized allicin or aged garlic extract. Those are often the types used in the research.
Got it.
But, and this is really important, always talk to your doctor first, especially if you're taking blood thinners, because garlic can interact with those.
Crucial point. Okay. What about healthy fats? Omega-3s must be on the list.
Oh, for sure. Fatty fish salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines, herring, great sources of omega-3s.
And why are they so good for circulation?
Multiple reasons. They help promote NO release, so vessels dilate. They inhibit platelets clumping together, reducing clot risk. They can help lower blood pressure and boost that good HDL cholesterol.
A real multitasker. And nuts, they're healthy fats too.
They are. Plus, they're a source of L-arginine.
Arginine.
Okay.
That's the amino acid the body uses to make NO, right?
Exactly. So nuts contribute directly to making more NO. They also have minerals like magnesium, potassium, calcium, all good for blood pressure regulation.
Yeah.
Overall, the sources point to nuts having protective effects for heart health.
Okay, wow. So we've got leafy greens, beets, dark chocolate, berries, citrus, pomegranate, turmeric, garlic, fatty fish, nuts. That's a serious circulation-boosting grocery list.
It really is.
Any other quick mentions from the sources, foods that popped up?
Yeah, a few others. Cayenne pepper came up. It has capsaicin.
Right.
That might improve blood vessel health. It's an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, maybe lowers risk for high blood pressure, diabetes, artery hardening. Onions, too, flavonoid antioxidants, good for arteries and veins. Cinnamon might help lower blood pressure, especially the diastolic, the bottom number.
Okay.
Ginger also showed up in studies for reducing high blood pressure.
It sounds like just flavoring your food with these things, garlic, onion, turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, could actually be beneficial systemically.
It really seems that way. Even watermelon got a nod.
Watermelon, why?
It contains citrulline. The body converts that to arginine. And then, guess what?
More NO.
More NO. Now, you might need supplements for a big performance boost, but eating it is still part of the picture. And even simple bananas, good source of potassium, which is key for healthy blood pressure.
Okay, so that's a lot of eat this. What about the avoid this list?
Yeah, the usual suspects were definitely flagged. Processed foods, lots of added sugar, trans fats, too much salt.
Why are they so bad for circulation?
Well, they increase your risk for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, all bad news for your vessels. And they can directly damage the artery walls over time.
What about meat?
Red meat, processed meats, fatty cuts, especially with the skin on, they contain saturated fats, which contribute to that cholesterol buildup, the plaque, in arteries.
So lean cuts in moderation.
That's the general advice, yeah. Choose lean, trim the fat, don't overdo it.
And what's the absolute worst thing for circulation, according to these sources?
Oh, hands down, smoking and vaping.
No surprise there.
None at all. The sources are emphatic. Cut them out completely. Nicotine constricts blood vessels like crazy, restricts flow. Plus, it's linked directly to inflammation and damage to the artery walls. Just nothing good there for your circulation.
Okay, so diet is huge, but lifestyle is the other half of the coin, right?
Absolutely. And exercise is probably the cornerstone there.
Why exercise?
It directly stimulates blood flow. It improves that vasodilation, the ability of vessels to widen.
Do you need to run marathons?
No, not at all. The sources were really encouraging about this. Even low-impact stuff, like just regular walking, can be incredibly helpful, especially if you have pain or limitations. Just moving your body keeps the blood moving.
Makes intuitive sense. What else on the lifestyle front?
Weight management is vital. Carrying extra weight puts a real strain, especially on the veins in your legs.
How so?
It increases the resistance the blood has to push against to get back up to the heart, contributes to higher pressure, swelling. So maintaining a moderate weight reduces that strain and also lowers the risk of plaque buildup associated with being overweight.
Hydration. Does drinking enough water matter?
Definitely. Staying well hydrated helps maintain your blood volume.
Right.
If you're dehydrated, your blood can actually get a bit thicker, harder for the heart to pump around efficiently. You need good volume to get blood to all the vital organs.
Makes sense. And stress.
Huge factor. Chronic stress can really mess with your blood pressure, contribute to inflammation, both terrible for circulation. Finding ways to manage stress is key.
So diet, exercise, weight, hydration, stress, that covers a lot. Where does actual medical help fit in?
It's essential, really. It works alongside diet and lifestyle. Consulting a healthcare provider is always a recommendation, especially if you have existing conditions or you're noticing symptoms.
Right. Get personalized advice.
Exactly. They can diagnose properly.
Yeah.
They might suggest things like compression socks.
Okay, how do those help?
They provide gentle, targeted pressure, usually on the legs, which helps push blood back up towards the heart and prevents pooling. Especially useful for venous insufficiency or swelling.
Are they different from diabetic socks?
Yeah, the sources noted that diabetic socks are usually soft, non-binding, seamless, designed to protect sensitive feet from injury. Compression socks are elastic and apply specific pressure levels. Your doctor would advise which, if any, are right for you.
And medications. Sometimes they're needed.
For sure. Depending on the situation, a doctor might prescribe statins for cholesterol, antiplatelets or blood thinners to prevent clots, vasodilators to help widen vessels directly, or meds to control high blood pressure or blood sugar if those are underlying issues.
And sometimes surgery, I suppose.
In some more severe cases, yes. Procedures to clear blocked arteries or deal with things like really bad varicose veins might be necessary.
Okay, so pulling this all together, it's really not about finding one magic bullet food or habit, is it?
Not at all. It's the synergy. It's the whole pattern.
Yeah.
Building your diet around whole foods, fruits, veggies, whole grains, lean protein, healthy fats. Kind of like a Mediterranean approach. That's the foundation.
And just as important is limiting the processed stuff, the added sugar, unhealthy fats, excess salt.
Exactly. And then, on top of that solid foundation, strategically adding in some of these specific foods we talked about, the ones rich in NO precursors, or those powerful antioxidants.
Can give your system an extra boost.
Precisely. It's all part of that broader healthy lifestyle. These diet and lifestyle changes work together. They improve how your vessels function, they reduce inflammation, they help manage blood pressure, cholesterol. It all promotes better blood flow.
But it's crucial to remember these are part of the picture, not a replacement for medical care if you need it.
Absolutely critical. Always talk to your healthcare professional for personalized advice, especially if you have health conditions or questions about supplements or starting new things.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground here, digging into these sources on diet, lifestyle, circulation, heart health.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected everything is in the body.
Totally. And how, seemingly small choices can actually ripple outwards and have these positive effects system-wide.
It's quite empowering when you think about it.
It really is. So listening to all this, maybe just take a moment now and think, which one of these ideas feels most doable or interesting for you right now?
Yeah, where could you start?
Is it maybe trying to get more leafy greens in? Or exploring that high cocoa dark chocolate, in moderation, of course. Or just adding a short walk to your day, maybe even focusing on drinking more water. How could exploring just one of those feel like a manageable first step towards maybe noticing a real difference in how you feel, your energy, your overall well-being?